since the murder of George Floyd, there's been a lot of videos and stuff going online that have been shared. And one that you shared, I think the message after you shared it was really powerful. So I wanted to see if you touch on it. And it was a video of a man, an old man, saying they were doing a news report on him. You know which one I'm talking about? And he said, I was in my house. He had blood coming out of his eye. And he goes, they said, what happened to you? He said, I was just in my house and I was saying that all lives matter. And these black people came up to me and started beating me up. And I was just in my house saying it from my window. And the reporter was like, oh, you were just in your house, blah, blah. And then the next video that you showed was, that whole thing was basically a lie. It showed a video of him actually outside. And I'm not sure what he was saying, but he was making a very loud fuss outside, and he wasn't in his house at all. And he was lying. He was completely lying. And it was what you said after that really, I think, resonated with me. And what you said after was, it's because of people like this who 9 times out of 10 you don't get to see the recording of what actually happened. And so it's because of people like this that there's a lot of black brothers that are in prison, black men and black women who are in prison because of people like that who make lies. Just touch on what you were kind of mentioning there, because I thought it was really powerful.
Yeah, because obviously what had happened, like you said, the guy claimed to be in his house, and he claimed that people were shouting slogans of Black Lives Matter. So he replied with All Lives Matter, and because of that, he had got punched in his face. But then a video showed that he was in the middle of traffic shooting a bow and arrow into a crowd of people. And the crowd of people that he was shooting these arrows to were not only black, but a mixed group of people. So you had white, Asians, Caucasians, everybody was in that group. And the video itself actually shows him shooting bow and arrows into the crowd. And then it shows a group of, Caucasian white people attacking him for that. Because as you see the marches that are going on worldwide, in Berlin, in Spain, in France, in Japan, everyone's coming out. It's not a black, black versus white thing. This is a human race versus racism. These are like human beings have come together as a group of people, and they're having a stance against racism. But why that video was so, close to home to me was a lot of the times we watch documentaries of African Americans and just African or black people from different parts of the world who are incarcerated, and they swear down, that they didn't commit the crime that they've been put in prison for. And we've seen lots of cases of injustice in the earlier days before forensics, before cameras, of, black people who were, put to the electric chair, only to years find out later with evidence of forensics that they didn't actually commit that crime. And this was a clear visual of how something like this unfolds. Because here you have, a white Caucasian man telling the news report that he had been punched in the face by 2 black people for screaming out All Lives Matter. And then in the second video, you see that he was actually, instigating violence in a crowd of people. And then he was attacked by white people. But he still came on national TV with his big chest held up high and was able to lie.
Yeah, he was very confident in what he was saying.
Yeah, very confident, and was able to lie and look the camera dead in the eye and say he was punched in the face by 2 African Americans. So if you look at someone like this and you multiply it with, the amount of people that live in the United States and how many, of these people have been in court systems, have been on the jury, have been, someone who's come to give evidence and have just stood on the stand and lied. And because of that, and the consequence of that has made that some young black men within the African community and women have had to serve long periods of sentences or even life sentences. And some of them have had to lose their life because of things like that. We know it happens, but it's a whole different story when you actually see it. So I feel like with the death of the brother that passed away in America, Floyd, is that it's not nothing new, it's something that's been happening for a long time, but the video has changed a lot. And I think also if it wasn't in a period of lockdown and coronavirus
seem to have lost
Our
them.
day-to-day lives, our busy lives, our busy scheduled lives, if we were just, going to work and dealing with the day-to-day stresses that we had before COVID, I don't think it might have got the same amount of attention. And I feel like the fact that everyone's off school, off college, off uni, people are just at home and they were able to see this and take it in. And the fact that COVID-19 has also brought people together, because
Yeah,
with COVID-19, that people have been, food parcels, religious groups have been sharing things and distributing food and helping the communities. COVID-19 has brought the community and the world together because it's something that we're all facing as a whole. And COVID-19 doesn't discriminate. COVID-19 has taken lives of every type of race. It hasn't just taken the black lives. It hasn't just taken Asian or Arab or, or white or whatever. Every type of person, every type of race has passed away and died and has been a victim of COVID-19. So I feel like that has brought a unity worldwide that has put us in a position to be ready for something like this. And I think pre COVID-19, this might not have happened, the same reaction. But I feel like that unity that has been brought on by COVID-19 and the fact that everyone's at home and has been able to watch this, I think it's brought around a different reaction. And I think it's important that we take this time to kind of evaluate how we want to move forward as a generation, and I think it's just important for us to kind of understand what we're seeing here, what we're a part of, because COVID-19 was one thing on its own, but COVID-19 is a virus that we have, we can get a cure for, whether it's like the flu, whether it's things like Ebola, scientists go in a lab, they come together, they work their hardest, and they get a cure for virus or some type of antibody to kind of deal with things like this. But with systematic racism, it's something that we haven't been able to get rid of for over 400 years. You know what I mean? And if we look at the civil rights movement, which is over 60 years ago, you would have thought within that period of time that, as a group of people, we would have come a lot further. Because if you look at the police officer who actually kneeled on the guy, on Floyd, for that how long, it's not just that he kneeled on him and he killed him on camera. It's the confidence and the that he portrayed. He done it like, I'm on camera. I don't care.
mm,
What can anyone do to me? I'm not gonna get off him. Yeah, I don't care what he says. Yes, you're recording me, and what? That he was able to, have that confidence to, to do that. And why? Why does he, where does a person get that confidence if he doesn't believe that there's a system that backs him and that allows him to, to be like that?